Hey everybody, and welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. Today we're going to be installing the Bevinsee oil cooler cap. We'll have the link to this and everything we use down in the description below, including the Max Heating Rod oil cooler itself. This right here is a product that we have put on my white race car, and we are now putting into my wife's car. We do have a discount code right here. If you use this, you can get a discount off your next Bevinsee order. Before we get into today's content, make sure you are subscribed, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do giveaways. We have an E46 M3 steering wheel. We've already given one of them away, and we've got one more that we'll be giving away here fairly soon, as soon as I get it buttoned up the rest of the way. This right here is a killer deal for the price. I used to see these go for like $200–300, and now you can pick one of these up for less than $100, which is pretty crazy. I've been really happy with the one on my race car. There's a few features, there's a few things that are a little bit quirky about it, and I want to talk about the experience of the one that I've got already. A little bit of a running review now that I've been able to experience it on the car, and then also talk about some tips and tricks to keep it from leaking and to give it the best performance possible. So the one on my race car, the only thing that I've been fighting is that these two holes on the top, which are designed for you to be putting in sensors, where they are plugged off, you do need to make sure you're using Teflon tape. The biggest thing about anything from manufacturers like this, where they're a little bit on the less expensive side, is that you want to make sure that you're replacing all the gaskets up front. So I use AC line gaskets. I haven't had any of them fail on me. They're really good. They don't expand. They won't swell up or anything like that. And so I've replaced the two up top here with AC line gaskets. They're normally green. And Teflon tape, you want to make sure you're using Teflon tape, thread sealer, things like that. Once you get all that taken care of, they're pretty bulletproof. So if you remember in the previous video when we were installing the one on my race car, we had actually modified the intake manifold on my wife's car, so it's actually ready to go. If you need to see that, I'll have the link to the previous video up here, and that way you can see what you need to do to get this installed. You'll be just modifying the intake just a little bit. Once that's done, it's plug in. I need to figure out where I'm going to point this. So on mine, I kind of have it pointed a little bit over to the driver's side, and then the lines swoop out and around kind of by the coolant cap. I've got to put this a little bit different than the other car. So I haven't decided quite yet what to do, but we're going to figure it out right now. So I'm not sure the difference between mine and this car in terms of like where this is facing. So in mine, I was able to actually get it to face over this direction, and that's why I had the hosing come in, you know, from here. This one only really wants to face straight forward, and I could probably crank it over a little bit more, but when you're tightening it with one of these, like as soon as it starts feeling tight at all, like you're done. Like if you crank it over anymore, you know, with this much leverage, you're gonna break something. So, you know, this is really only supposed to be slightly over hand tight. So you don't want to push it any further. I'm totally okay with this. So I was able to get these hoses down here to come straight in, and I think I'm actually just gonna run it like that. The only downside to this would be, I guess, if I ever have to remove the fan, I would just need to remove these screws and pull this straight up, rock it back, pull the fan up. It's not a huge deal. Obviously, when you start adding things like this to the cars, they get more and more complicated, harder and harder to work on, and that's just how it's going to be. So I've never had a fan actually die on me. They've always been that the module that's on them will fail, but as soon as you hardwire them like this, I've never had one go bad. It'll go out tonight, now that I say that, but yeah, so I'm going to measure these real quick. I've got a lot of this stuff hanging around, so if I need to recut it, and these right here actually don't take that. I mean, you can see how long this is. It's only going to be just over a foot, and this one right here was probably going to be right at a foot. I'm going to tape these off, cut them, get these ends put on them. I did look into how much oil an oil cooler takes, and as of right now, it seems to be about a quart. If you had put a new filter in here, it might be a little bit more than that, but about a quart was all I had to add to my race car. It was a 19 row. So we're going to put just under a quart in this one. We'll start it up, see what it looks like, and then go from there. Okay, one more of those. Okay, now it should push a little bit of oil through. Let's see if we're leaking anywhere. Everything looks pretty good. Okay, go ahead and start it for real. So we had a bit of a leak out here. I just went and put like another like half turn on it. I'm gonna check the dipstick, see what kind of oil we've got, because now clearly we've got fluid in the oil cooler. And once we check the dipstick, I'm assuming it's going to be down about a quart. So I've got a quart of oil on standby, so we're going to do that real quick. All right, so we just went for a quick spin, just enough to make sure that everything was okay. We went and stopped like probably 5 or 6 times in a very short amount of drive time. And I checked the dipstick and was checking to make sure we weren't leaking anything out the front. We were just kind of just barely dripping oil, so there is some on the oil cooler there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but we just tighten them down. And you don't want to crank them if you don't absolutely have to, because you can actually damage the AN fittings little bits at a time, instead of just like putting like a full turn on it or something like that. They are aluminum. I think it's aluminum to aluminum, so got to be careful doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, other than that, the oil cooler cap isn't leaking. Good stuff through Bevinsee. We really like their stuff, really like it alongside this Max Peating Rods oil cooler. Everything you see here will be linked in the description as always. We really appreciate everybody so much for watching. Comments or questions down in the comment section below, and we'll see everybody in the next video.
Bam!